in this tight election landscape, Buck, can be 2 points. I mean, if Republicans had done 2 points better in 2022, we would have seen a massive red wave like, frankly, we saw in New York and Florida. So if Trump just does 2 or 3 points better than he did in 2020 in the Electoral College, this would not be a close race.
I'll say it every day until the election.
Why isn't some spots on red?
I'll say it every day until the election.
Huh? What's the spots on red on him for?
I truly believe it. And if I'm wrong, I'll eat some humble pie, which will be cheaper than Clay Steak. So the good news is I think everything is on track for him. And these numbers that you're talking about it all makes sense, right? When you think about Kamala Harris, what kind of campaign she's running, how dishonest the whole thing feels. Even one of our undecided callers in the first hour, which I thought was a very interesting portion of the show, we got to hear from people and why they're not yet decided. And I think they were all had rational reasons for their positions. I think that Trump is clearly a better choice than Kamala Harris, times 1,000. But anyway, I understand why they do it the way they do. But she said there's a condescension. I said, don't you feel that? She said, yeah, I feel there's a condescension from what Kamala's doing. They're lying to people about what she believes and what she will do so that Kamala can be president. And I just think that if that's a winning strategy, then American politics is just a joke. And you know, with Joe Biden, they were able to leverage COVID. They were able to leverage the fear that people had, and also mail-in balloting and all these mail-in voting, all these different things that they were able to use for the first time. It's a different game. I think the Republican Party is much more awake to the realities of early voting, mail-in, ballot chase, all of these things. And so that will nullify some of the electoral machinery advantage that Kamala had. I'll also just say it. I mean, people keep pointing out, Clay, they say you guys were very bullish about 22 as well. And that's true. The polls there were very positive for Republicans, but margin of error was a real thing. And also, some of the people that were in that race were just not very good candidates, and some of them were Trump-backed, and they weren't very good candidates, and they lost. And there are a couple of Trump-backed candidates in this cycle who are not good, and they're going to lose too. So it's not a perfect world out there, unfortunately. And I think that the Republican Party right now is in a strong position to take the Senate, and I think Donald Trump's in a strong position to win the election. So it's good news, but all the caveats apply. Got to stay focused. Got to get the job done. Got to get in with the early vote. Every vote counts. All of that. So look, Trump's in a better position now he's ever been in an election. Correct. So am I supposed to be sitting here like we're all gonna lose? It's horrible. I mean, no, of course not. Okay, Trump's gonna win this thing if he gets it done and if the GOP stays on task. 6 weeks out, and this is what they're saying on CNN. I mentioned that CNN has Kamala up 1. A brand new poll that just got released in the past couple of minutes has Trump up 1. This is well within the margin of error. It's going to be a margin of error race. The odds of anybody running away with Pennsylvania, for instance, and winning, I think, by 4 or 5 points there are very low, based on what we saw in 2016 and based on what we saw in 2020. And frankly, based on the fact that Fetterman won in 2022. It's going to be close. But cut 12 here is CNN, Harry Ensign looking at the numbers and saying Kamala has an issue with black and Latino voters. Listen to this.
How about this? I think this is really interesting. All right, choice for president, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina. All right, Hispanic voters. 4 years ago, Joe Biden won that vote 66% in the Sun Belt. Look at where we are now. Kamala Harris at just 52%. So Kamala Harris struggling among Hispanic voters. Donald Trump doing considerably better than he did 4 years ago. How about black voters? Kamala Harris, again, leading here by a significant margin. She's getting 83% of that vote, but that is significantly short of Joe Biden's 92%. So the bottom line is, in the Sun Belt, which is much more diverse than the northern battleground states up in the Great Lakes, Kamala Harris is struggling among voters of color.
What's he do?
Okay, Bob, I said that she was going to have a tougher time with black voters than Joe Biden did, and that sounded crazy to some people at the time, but
because he's not
Biden
fit.
Was Obama's vice president for 8 years. Biden had a long-standing relationship with the black community as a politician, and Clyburn decided Biden was going to be the guy, and it was really kind of a transactional political moment. Kamala Harris inspiring even to the black and other minority communities.
Okay, so this is Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia. If Kamala is trailing Biden's numbers by 4, which is what CNN just said, we just played for you. If she is trailing Biden's numbers in those states by 14 for Hispanic voters and by 9 for black voters, do you think that she's going to do better with white voters? The reason why I bring that up is the Midwest is overwhelmingly made up of white voters. In terms of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, they don't have the same black and Hispanic and Asian population which the Sun Belt would have. I think Kamala is going to perform with white voters poorly and worse than Biden did as well. So, again, where are Kamala's numbers going to come? Look at what they do. Look at what they look at what their strategy is. I believe we have the audio now. To me, this is Kamala getting desperate and saying, I've got to win women by an unbelievable number. Just off the charts is the only way. If I'm losing white, black, and Hispanic men, which is where I think a lot of these numbers are, I have to be through the stratosphere on women. So what did she do? Wisconsin Public Radio, we've added this, but she said, toss out the filibuster. I'm running basically exclusively on abortion. Here's Kamala.
I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe, and we need, and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections for the freedom.
Okay, so Buck, to me, this is a sign, a bit of desperation. Once you eliminate the filibuster for one thing, you take away it for everything,
Yeah,
right?
there's
It's not going to exist anymore.
Harry Reid learned this with judicial nominees, right? Once you decide that you're removing the filibuster in some cases for judicial nominees, guess what? The other side's going to say, well, this is the new regime. We're not going to have it for any judicial nominees, including Supreme Court. I think that, first of all, it does show you that the most important thing to the Democrat Party is abortion.
Yes.
The most important thing to Democrats is the right to terminate pregnancy. And really, if you look at Democrat dogma, it's at any point, Kamala Harris will not say that she supports any restriction on abortion whatsoever. All they'll say is, no, you're misrepresenting Roe, or, okay. Can we all agree, outlaw third trimester abortion? Can we all agree? They will not agree with that. Why will they not agree with that? Because they want it all 9 months of a pregnancy, because they want to treat it like it's some civil right, some basic human right, to be able to kill your baby. And this is where we are as a country, that the Democrat Party is more focused on this than anything else is kind of demonic. And I'm just sad that, unfortunately, we're not able to have a real conversation about it as a country because people are so invested.
It's also radical, that proposition that you just laid out, even for Europe. Most European countries limit abortion at like 15 weeks.
The only countries in the world that allow abortion as late as the United States does right now are China and Russia.
Yeah, it's crazy. And again, that's a case that could be made. Let me say this though.
I wish Trump in the debate has been one of those moments where it should have, now look, I know 3-on-1, all that's true, but still.
They saved Kamala because he asked, do you believe there should be 7, 8, 9 month abortion? He tried to go directly at it, and they were like, we got to change the topic now. But what else does she have to argue? She's wrong on the border. She's wrong on the economy. She's wrong on crime. I think this is a sign of desperation. And I think for many of you out there that are grandmas, that are mothers, conversations with your 18 to 34-year-old daughters or granddaughters, look, many states out there have codified abortion rights far beyond what Roe v. Wade would have allowed. New York and California, Illinois among them. And the reality is, just being honest on raw numbers, the number of abortions hasn't really changed since Roe v. Wade was overturned. It is now a state issue. If your daughter or your granddaughter is obsessed with this because they're 18 to 40 or 18 to 34 years old, and it's all they'll talk about and it's all they care about, it's a state's issue. So get involved in your local state legislature, get involved in your governorship. What Trump has said is every state should be able to make its own decision on this, and the left-wing states have gone super left-wing on abortion.
The idea that you would decide in this crucible moment, I think, for our country, that you're going to vote based on abortion is the only possible outcome for Democrats that they think can work. But it's also, under Trump's idea, not a federal issue. In fact, Kamala Harris is trying to make it a federal issue by now saying that we want to make this a national law and do away with the filibuster in the process. Her position is actually the radical one relative to American history. I hope that this doesn't work. I hope that this does not have the intended effect because of what it would say about our country and also because of all the additional babies that will be lost as a result of this. But we'll get to some calls, and also we've got Vivek joining us in a few minutes. He got a new book out also. I think he was just in Springfield. That's right, he was. And so we'll be talking to Mr. Vivek Ramaswamy here in just a few minutes. You know, Clay and I had a great time yesterday hanging out with the Sabre team. We were out there on the range. We'll be posting some of this online for you to see. Doing real deal training, I mean, how to load it up, how to fire the Sabre Pepper projectile launcher. And it is, once you try these things, they're amazing. This is for home defense. This is for defending you and your family. Sabre is a family-owned business, makes best-in-class products for your protection and safety. But the pepper spray launcher, for example, once you try this, it's the best. I've actually tried some of the other ones out there as well. I'll tell you this. Sabre has, for example, more rounds, so to speak, more of these balls that it fires than any of their competitors. And you want additional rounds to be able to fire because if you have multiple intruders, or if you just want to make sure that that pepper cloud is really intense and stops the threat. I mean, this is the best, less lethal option on the market, non-lethal option on the market. Fast loading, no recoil. I mean, I was accurate with this thing. I was doing pretty well out there too. I'm not gonna lie. I was putting some hate down range. You know what I mean? Throwing it. And yeah, we had a good time out at the shooting range with our launchers from Sabre. But I mean, 60 feet, you can hit something pretty easily. 60 feet out there, so that gives you a lot of range here. Trust me, you're going to love Sabre's whole range of products. They've also got the best in class. It is the most used pepper spray by law enforcement. Of their pepper spray